Okay, let's just make sure this is working correctly before we get started. Just getting the live stream up and running. So I can monitor it at the same time as flying. Okay. Now to pull up the instructions for the 747. Otherwise I will be hopelessly lost. Jose says good evening. Hello. So, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go through the checklist, so I won't be able to monitor live chat while I'm doing it, unfortunately. So we'll see how we get on. So first things first, we go into the control options and make sure we have the correct control configuration, which I know I won't have. So I want the 4-engine configuration. There it was. Apply, go back, resume, put the reversers in place. That all appears to be working. That's interesting. When I pulled those back just then, the spoilers come back with them. Interesting, I never noticed that before. Because obviously when you do go for reversers, the spoilers do come out on landing. That's interesting, I've never noticed that. Okay, so control 7. It's a bit dark in the cockpit, isn't it? We'll have to sort that out on the way around. So we uncage the battery, we turn on the battery, we go to external power because it is available, we go to auto on the standby power, we turn APU to start, it falls back to on, which is fine. I think control 8 will take us that bit further overhead. So emergency lights can go to armed and covered. I'm just trying to remember where the dome light is in the 747. Oh, I thought it was going to be up here. Cargo fire, oxygen. So come on then, live stream chat. Who can remember where the dome light switches are for the 747? Are they down the... They're not on the pedestal, are they? Glare, shield, panel and flood. Oh, dome, here we go. Being absolutely ridiculous, aren't they? So the only reason I'm worrying about lights is because it's already quite dark. So I'm putting some lights on. It will be dark by the time we land in Barcelona. Okay, let's get back to the checklist. APU should have started by now. So, control 7. APU Gen 1 and 2 can go to on, which will cross-feed over from the external power automatically. So then we can scoot up to the inertial navigation system and switch it to nav. We've done the emergency lights, so control 7 nav lights can go to warn people on the ground that we are doing stuff. Window heats can go to on, so they're over here. Wing anti-ice can go to auto, so that's there. then go and program the flight. And this is going to take a while because it's quite an involved flight plan tonight. So position initialization, pick up the GPS, drop it on the IRS. Reference airport is EGSS. And then go to route. So it's EGSS to Lebel, isn't it? The code for, yeah, LEBL is Barcelona. We're leaving on runway 22 from Stansted. We'll give it a flight number, ABC 123. We're just going to make that up. And then go to next page, and this is where it's going to get interesting because we're going to program all of this lot in, but it's not going to look anywhere near as bad as that does. So what we're going to do is use I thought I had this in Notepad. There it is. So we're going to go straight to Sandy. Okay, so SANDY. And it'll be the 51-degree version of it. Then L15, L15 to Motox, MOTOX. Then UL15 to Nebax, UL15 to Nebax, NEBAX. Then UT407 to Shara, UT407 to Shara, SHARA. Then UZ24 to Morocco, UZ24. Oh, come on. There it goes. MOROK. Then next page. Z24 to Bolgi, Z24 to BOLGI. Then T14 to on-off, T14. Let's just check the spelling of this. ONNOF, ONNOF. UN852 to Divco, UN852 to Divco, DIVKO. Then UN975 to Nildu, UN975. Let's just check the spelling of this next one again. Nildu, NILDU. We're nearly there. Then Porbu is the final. So there's going to be a discontinuity here. So Porbu, PORBU. Because obviously we don't have a leg in there. So activate and then go to the legs page. So go to departure arrivals. We're runway 22. We're going to be using the DET2R standard instrument departure. Execute that. Come back to the index, go to the arrival into Barcelona. We're going to be landing runway 24 left, and we're going to be using the ALB2W standard approach route. Execute that. So then we can go and have a look at legs and we'll see if we've got many discontinuities to sort out. So we're going to flick through. There's one. Execute. There's another one. Execute. And that's following the landing. So let's just go previous page again. Yeah, runway 24 left. That's for if you were doing a missed approach. So we'll leave that alone. So we can now go into init ref. We're going to fly at 36,000 feet. So that's flight level 360. Execute that. We'll put in 100 as our cost index. 0 fuel weight, it should calculate it, and it does. We'll put in 1 as reserve. Go to thrust limit for the climb stuff, that's all fine. So flaps 10 for a 747. Calculate the CG, transfer over the V speeds, and we should be good to go. I think that's the programming of that pretty much done. So back to the master control panel. We're going to go and set heading of 222 on the heading bug. Whoops. I'll do this from an angle so we can actually see the side of things because it helps a lot. So 222 is the takeoff direction. It takes forever to wind the knob around to it. Altitude, we're going to go and put in our cruise altitude straight away because we'll use VNav to make our life easy tonight. We will pre-select, oh, we need flight directors on before we do that. We will pre-select vertical speed mode and go for 2,500 feet a minute. We could probably go for 3,000 in a 747 to be honest, but there's no point because we've got a altitude restriction all the way to Detling. So we can pre-select LNAV and VNav. So even though we've programmed the heading, we're not actually going to use it. We can arm the throttle. Obviously using VNav it will take control of it itself anyway. What have we missed? Calibrate the altitude. I've just used B to barometric pressure. I've just used B to do that. Also down here we can go and move the trim. So we're just moving the stabilator trim into the middle of the green area there. We're going to set auto brake to RTO. Okay, so we're preparing for engine start at this point. So control 7, turn all the pumps on that have got fuel. We would perform pushback at this point if we needed to. As you can see, we don't need to. So start engines. Control 7. Beacon light goes to both. Whoops, unless you miss it with the mouse. Engine bleed. Turn it on across all of the engines, he says as he missed one of the switches. So then for each engine in turn we are going to pull the lever for it. Watch the numbers come up. And while we're waiting for that, we can be turning some more brightnesses up, can't we, around the place. And in fact, these don't do much, do they? So, it'll be interesting to see what the lighting looks like when it gets dark. So, that's number 1. Sorry, number 4, sorry. So while we're doing the engines, let's have a look at the live stream chat. I'm not putting the endpoints of the airways, it's the intersections where we're leaving one airway and going on to another. Just reading Rui Martin's comment there. Is there any way to connect to Simbrief with the updated? I haven't actually tried. I always program things by hand usually anyway, but I've not actually tried putting Simbrief in. I'm not sure that it has got it in the MCD, or sorry, the FMC I should say. We're in a Boeing, aren't we? So I didn't put out number 3, did I? So we just went for N2. This is the gas turbine speed as the compressed air from the APU is spinning up the engine. Then we introduce fuel and it ignites and it speeds up even further and it bootstraps itself. Let's have a look overhead. There's the plunger for number 3 is still out at the moment. And number 2. Do you know, I might wind the time back because otherwise there's going to be nothing for anybody to watch on the way. So should we wind it back to mid-afternoon? We can leave the weather live. Number 2. So Sabo is asking, why am I playing with all the default stuff? Because the 747 had a huge upgrade last week. And I hadn't done like a complete flight from one airfield to another, so I thought I might as well do it this evening. So engines come up. Start engine number 1. So we're waiting for the N2 to come up. Why do lots of people start engine 4 first? Now, I can't say this with complete authority for the 747, but certainly on lots of the 2-engine aircraft, the right-hand-most engine usually is the one that's got the hydraulics hanging off of it. So in order for the things like nose wheel steering and everything else to be charged up on the pressurization of the hydraulic system, it usually comes off of engine number 4, but that may vary from aircraft to aircraft. I know it's certainly true of the 737s. Things like wheel brakes and stuff like that, the hydraulics for it all comes off of the or the primary source for that hydraulic pressure is engine number 4. Okay, so engines are up and running. But yeah, don't take that as read. That's just, I remember reading about that with the 737, and there's various accident reports where they didn't start the engines in order and it was the first flight of the day and the aircraft started rolling because it had no brakes and crashed into the tug and stuff like that. There's a couple of accidents like that you can read about on the internet. Where are we? Done the engine start. APU selector goes to off. We don't need the APU anymore. Hydraulic pumps are down here. We put them all on auto. Packs can go to on, so that's the atmospheric control within the cabin. External lights, taxi lights to on. That's here. And we taxi to the runway. And before we do that, let's go and get the flaps to 10 degrees. So I've just commanded it on the controller. So there we go, there's 10 degrees, so the flaps are travelling. And we'll roll out to the runway. So parking brake off. We should get a small amount of positive thrust. So if we start turning, yeah, you can see it straight away. We're actually rolling at idle. which you expect in a 747. Only very, very slowly, just enough thrust is there to make the aeroplane move. So I'm going to get it to expedite that somewhat. Okay, while we're waiting for that, let's go down here and turn on the, if I can find it, the TCAS to TAR8. So we just got the lights to do basically when we get to the throttle. When we get to the runway, not the throttle. Can't talk today. Let's just double check things. We've got VNav pre-selected, we've got LNav pre-selected, we've got the heading backup programmed in. We got the altitude. I didn't click on the altitude to arm it though, did I? Don't think it makes a lot of difference while you're on the ground, to be honest. Just check the screens down here. So doors are on auto brake is on RTO, the gear is down, flaps are in position, trim is set, and we're looking good. Obviously we're not bothering with ATC. So we'll roll out onto the runway. Okay, let's just get those last few lights set up. So parking brake back on. And landing lights on. And strobes on. And we're good to go. Let's increase the range on the display here. Gear up. Okay, autopilot can come on. Start retracting the flaps. And increase the range a bit further on this so we can see the calculated flight path. Flaps are still travelling, they're just coming up. Well within limits, it's all good. And we're on our way. Yeah, just reading the comments there about forgetting to do things. That's why I always use a checklist these days. I used to fly the 737 a lot and I could pretty much get away with it, but it's just easier to have the checklist and to go through it. So you can see straight away we're levelling out at 5,000 feet. That's because there's an altitude restriction on the route. If we go and look at Navigraph, you will see, if we pull up the chart for the Detling, you can see it's 5,000 feet, between 3,000 and 5,000 there, but then it's 5,000 feet the rest of the way. Yeah, so it's restricting us right the way out until we get to Detling. And then we can get on with the rest of our route. Now let's just have a double check while we're doing this. Let's go and have a look at the legs. There's no vectors in here, is there? I'm just looking at this because between Detling and Sandy, no, it knows all about it. It's fine. I just half expected to see a discontinuity there and wondered if I'd missed one. So if we increase the range a bit further, we can put on the TCAS display as well. There's nothing around. So there's Detling coming up. So we'll be at 5,000 feet until we get to Detling. So what's something else we can check on the chart? Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Is, yeah, transition altitude is 6,000 feet. So we will, as soon as we begin the climb after Detling, we'll be able to go and change over to standard barometric pressure. We'll keep 250 knots though until we get to 10,000 feet. So I like planes is saying, what do you use for the procedures? I've written my own. I'll put a link in the chat. Ko-fi.com/JohnBeckett/shop. So they're free to download, but you can chip in with a couple of quid or a couple of dollars, whatever your currency is, if you feel you would like to. So you can download the exact same checklist I've just used, which goes, it's got all the keyboard shortcuts and everything in it. I can actually show you it. If I go to Google Drive, because it was just used, I can reopen it back up. So it looks like this. So let's make it so it's smaller. So it goes down with all the keyboard combinations you need to use to go around the cockpit, and it explains where things are as well at each step, so you can't get lost, or so it's very difficult to get lost. And with the programming the flight plan into the FMC, even if you've never done it, if you follow the sequence you should be good. But yeah, it goes through everything you need to do to get the plane ready. So I've done that for lots of the aeroplanes in the simulator. So anyone looked at the cargo version? I haven't yet. So we're just trundling along towards Detling. Should we go and increase the range over on the co-pilot's display over here? So about another 15 miles until we get there, and then we can climb up. So let's have a look at LittleNavMap, see what it's making the route look like. So if we go and center ourselves on the map, it gets a bit messy in LittleNavMap, doesn't it? When you're doing IFR with the big jets, Navigraph does have its advantages, just because it's so clean and tidy with the way it renders things. I didn't mean to do that though. Close that. So you can get weather reports on here now, which is quite cool. This is one of the new toy in Navigraph. So yeah, you can see the satellite, live satellite weather. So we've got nothing really to speak of. There's a little bit en route, a little bit down by. Oh, I haven't put the approach in. I'm doing ILS for runway. That's the one. Add to route. Ooh, that's interesting. Didn't realise it looked like that. That'll be good fun then. Okay. So at the moment we're just pootling along over southern England, following the standard instrument departure. So someone's saying your speed is holding at 250 knots, but no speed is selected under IAS MAC. The reason for that is because we are in VNAV mode, which takes control of the throttles. Because if you're in VNAV mode, it will not only do altitude, it will follow the speed restrictions on the legs. I mean, we could break away from that. You can see it. Well, it's got VNAV and speed mode, but if you're in VNAV, it will follow the speed restrictions. If we went back to just LNAV and controlled climb and descent ourselves, then we could have control of speed. Well, that's as far as I understand it. A lot of my knowledge is experiential, is that the right word? With, you know, it's what I have witnessed. So you'll see the climb rate will shoot up in a moment, because we've just gone out of the altitude restriction. There it goes, look. So it's starting to climb, and the throttles are coming on. And the speed is increasing. But it's interesting though, look. So it shouldn't go above 250 knots until we get to 10,000 feet. So we've just gone through 6,000, so we can now go to standard barometric pressure. And has that done it on both of them? Yes, it has. So they're not independent of each other. They really should be. So you've got the green banana appearing, which is showing you where it thinks we'll get to our top of climb. I think this has some new toys on it. Terrain. Will it show us much? Maybe not. Stations. Weather. Waypoints. Yeah, so it's just come up to 10,000 feet, so now we can go and remove or switch off, sorry, the landing lights. And we're off to the races, basically. Climbing out now. Turn off the weather. So we're just going over the southeast of England, and we'll be off across the channel over to France, and then fly down across France into Spain. It's going to be an interesting one. There's the moon. So if we did have this on live time, let's go and see how dark it's getting. Well, it's not too bad actually. It's still quite early in the evening. So we'll leave it on live time because then at least we might get to see a sunset, I guess. Yeah, so someone's just commented about the anti-ice. So if you look up above, you've got all these switches here, and depending on obviously the weather conditions, you can either switch it on or leave it on auto, and it would make sense with climbing to altitude to put it onto auto. That's perhaps something I should put in the footnotes of the procedure as well, isn't it? So we're letting the aircraft bank steeply. Right, I am just going to step away while we are in flight, and I'll be back in a short while, so I'll leave it running and leave the aeroplane flying along quite happily above the clouds. So I'll be back fairly soon. We'll be back certainly in time for approach into Spain. Right, just in case, I'm about to go and eat, so this is how crazy my life has become. I'm having to do flights in between eating, and I'm going to have to go and program a hold in just in case I don't get back from dinner in time. So Doppler descent was there, so at DivCo we're going to program a hold, and let's hope holds work, hey. Just leave it on the default settings. So then if we look at the flight plan now and go to plan mode and go step through the, we should see we've got a little hold at DivCo just in case I don't get back in time. Here it comes, he says. Yeah, so I've put a little hold in just in case I don't get back before descent, so when we get in there we'll sit in the hold at DivCo until I come back, basically, and the passengers will wonder what on earth is going on. Okay. So let's put this back into plan mode, also map mode, so you can see where we are on the route. Actually, so if we do Alt and press this, and then press E, or N, sorry, we can do this. This is really cool, isn't it? Never thought of doing that before. Oh, you can't hold... Interesting. I'm just trying to think of a way of making this interesting for you to look at while I'm not here. That's okay, isn't it? Right, I'll be back fairly soon. I'm just going to go and eat my dinner. Right, I'm back. Finally. Where are we? We didn't actually get as far as the hold. Fantastic. So I can remove the hold back out of the flight plan. There's Divco, there's the hold at Divco, so we'll pull up Nildu back up to on top of the hold, which will erase the hold. Gone. Magic. Oops. So, whereabouts are we? Let's have a look at Navigraph. Time for me to catch up on the live stream as well. So, it's already dark. We've got pretty good lighting in the cabin now, so that's not a problem. This is a bit too bright. Glare shield. Look, which one is the flood? That one. That's better. So this is a bit bright. I'm not sure if we get to control it though. Oh, that's interesting. So that does work. Does that mean we can control the other side as well? Yep. And so if we come down a little bit, that's the actual instrument, that's not the floodlight though. Okay, so we're racing towards the coast. I'm going to fly over the top of Marseille, I think, in a moment. Well, over the top of Martigues. How's the volume levels looking? Yeah, you can hear me. It's all good. So, top of descent is shortly after Divco, I think, as calculated by LittleNavMap, based on a 747-800 profile in LittleNavMap in its performance data. So, I wonder if that corresponds with this. If we zoom out a bit further, I wonder if it shows the top of descent. The top of descent's a bit later in here, but if we go earlier, then we have more time. So let's go and acquaint ourselves with the approach. So top of descent, according to the aircraft itself, is just before Nildu, but we don't actually have any restrictions until we get to Alba, and then we have to be between 25,000 feet and 11,000 feet. Then down to 10,000 feet at max. And then let's just compare this. So if we go to plan mode, because I wasn't aware of this. So if we go step to go through it, I just want to see, yeah, look, this hasn't got it. It's a straight in approach, so that must mean this is wrong. ILS 24 left. But that's using a transition. Ah. Let's compare it with this then. So Windows, open window layout, default, so we get all the stuff showing up. So we want to see the procedures for L Pratt, just to confirm this. FFL okay. So this is wrong. Remove. Select. We don't want that one. There it is. That's what we wanted. So we need to be 8,000 feet at, I'm not sure how you pronounce that one. Salala, but it's probably Calala, but I'm not sure. It's Spanish, isn't it? Salala. Okay. Do we have any? So 250 knot speed restriction, obviously below 10,000 feet. Nothing else complicated though. It's straight in after that, which is nice and easy. So the curve here is following landing. It's going out to a marshalling point, which isn't really shown here very well. So you can see the bend. So it's basically going out to a marshalling point if you miss the approach. Okay, so what sort of ETA have we got? Let's have a look at the progress page. 20:52. So about half an hour to go. Is there a clock in this aeroplane? That's a really good question. Where is the clock? Am I being dim? Oh, we're doing another turn. Stars are out, by the way. It's very pretty, isn't it? The night sky in simulator. Just laying down a chemtrail across southern France. So as we mentioned, we're just passing Marseille, wasn't it? Yeah. So Marseille's off of our wing over there. We're going off to the coast of Spain over here somewhere. So off our right wing, Port Saint-Louis de Rome. Okay, so we're flying off towards Divco, and then top of descent is before Nildu. So we still have a little while to go yet, and this is obviously wrong, so we'll get rid of that out of the way. There we go. Get rid of the charts for the moment. So somewhere between Divco and Nildu we'll start descent. It's going to be good fun. I haven't done a night landing for a little while. So put this back on map mode. So you can see there's top of descent marked just before Nildu. So just about to come through Divco. So if we increase the range on this, get to see a bit more. So we should be able, if we're stuck in LNAV all the way, we should just be able to go for the lowest altitude part of our approach. So I'm going to go for 10,000 feet obviously, because that lets us not have to worry about speed. So we're going to set the target altitude way to 10,000 feet. Whoops. We are about, how far from the next waypoint? Nildu. 58 miles away.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay, I'm just going to go make a coffee. I'll be back in a moment. Right, back just in time. Let's set the target altitude and VNav should take over. There we go, throttles are coming back, hopefully. If we don't descend quickly enough, I'll take over. Flight level change, here we go. Woomph. So we need to go to 25,000 feet instead of 10,000 feet. So let's pull up the approach chart. So 25,000 feet by Alba, or anywhere between 25 and 110. And obviously we're going to do it. Actually, yeah, so we don't need to do it that quickly. Let's go back to VNav. Let it calm it down. Let's see what it does with the vertical speed then. So it's winding it back out. My word, it was dropping like a stone. It's overspeeding. What's it doing? Okay, this is why you don't trust the 747 still then. I did a flight level change and it completely disregarded the speed and dived at the floor. I mean, okay, it wasn't dangerous, but we weren't near the airframe limit. But even so, that was ever so slightly insane. And now it's caught up with itself. So I don't know if anybody noticed what the aircraft did there. We did flight level change, the auto throttle was armed, and the aircraft dived for the floor. And completely disregarded, yeah, it still can't do it, look. It's not meeting, it's not meeting the speed target that it has set itself. It's quite amusing really, I suppose. So if we look down here, we got Porbu and then Alba. There's the clock, by the way, in the small print in the top corner of the EFIS display. Ooh, right. So after we get through Alba, I mean, we could start descending, to be honest. Let's have a quick look. So we need to be 8,000 feet for CLE. So set the target. Let's do this with vertical speed this time. And we'll pull the speed back to 300 knots as well while we're at it. We need to get to 250 actually, because we'll be going below 10,000 feet. So we'll start doing that now. We'll use the spoilers to decelerate while still going downhill. So let's go and have a quick look at the chart. The transition altitude, transition level is by ATC obviously, it's pretty typical. It's on the approach chart then. Transition altitude, where are you, where are you? 6,000 feet. Okay. So we're just coming into Alba. Then we'll be swinging left towards the CLE beacon. We're almost down to 250 knots now. Removing the spoilers as we go. So Marcus is saying, where did I start from? I started from Stansted, not Heathrow or Gatwick. I haven't got any of the custom scenery for either of them. I hardly ever fly from them because they're always quite busy with other people, and it tends to cause the sim to stutter a lot because of loading assets in. Apparently that's one of the things that's going to be fixed in the new version of Flight Simulator. They're going fully multi-threaded. So hopefully that will fix loading assets without hitting the frame rate. Let's just increase the range on this a little bit. So yeah, we're still going to get down to our target altitude in plenty of time. So we want 8,000 feet by the CLE beacon, which is just coming within range to go on the next zoom level down on the EFIS display. So we're just using lateral navigation now and vertical speed mode at 2,000 feet a minute. We could lessen this up a little bit. So 1,800 feet a minute now. So C990 Buff says, I hope Captain Becky knows that I like to joke around. I did go and look up your YouTube profile to see what you'd posted, to see if you had any substance to be able to criticise others. It does make me laugh actually when you get what appear to be very, very knowledgeable people will post and criticise lots of things by other people, not just in a jokey way. They're actually, you know, proper criticisms. And then you go and look at their own channel or any evidence of them sharing anything with the community, and they very rarely have. So they're always the first. I'm not on about people joking around. I'm just on about people who seem to have an axe to grind with anything anybody else ever does. And it kind of amuses me that they put so much effort into that rather than maybe sharing their apparently expert knowledge with everybody, which would be a great thing to do. Because if you do know, you know, a lot about a subject, it would be invaluable for others if you were to share it. But no, on about just joking around on the channel. One of the things you learn very quickly, if you get any kind of following on anywhere on the internet, you have to have a thick skin. Otherwise, it would go very badly. You have to develop a thick skin pretty quickly. Do I ever get any preview planes? Now and again. Several developers have approached me. I also get scenery. A company has approached me just today, actually, this morning. I haven't replied to them yet. Or was it yesterday? I think it might have been yesterday, actually. They've offered me all of their scenery, and they've made like 20, 30 airports, I think. And they look really good, and they've offered me all of them for nothing if I'll feature them on the channel and do some videos with them. Also, Parallel 42 have been fantastic. Because I did a video about the campout utility and it went a bit viral, they basically offered me at the time anything I wanted, but I actually declined at the time and said, you know, when they've got something that I would really love to look at, we'll save it for then. I gather quite a lot of people went and bought the campout utility after I featured it. Quite a lot of privateer developers, though, you know, like one-man bands, have approached me and given me early access to their aircraft. I think the only one where I didn't do it, I had the aircraft and I didn't record, was the Cessna Mustang, the private jet, because it wasn't in a state where the story wouldn't have looked great, so it would have been more trying to imagine what the finished article was going to be like. But obviously the Mustang turned into a fantastic little plane. But there's been a few like that where I've been given the opportunity of having early access to something that wasn't finished, and I actually said I'd rather wait, because otherwise you have to do such a scripted demo, it's not fair, and you're selling an unrealistic expectation to the audience. But yeah, it's been a huge novelty actually having any of the developers, scenery or aircraft. They have started to approach me slowly, I guess because the numbers are going up on the channel. And the trouble is, it almost turns it into a second job all of a sudden, because then you have expectations upon you that, you know, once you've agreed to do something, you actually have to go and do it. So we're just coming down towards 8,000 feet. So following the CLE waypoint, let's go and pull this up. So that'll be over there, and then we come in and we want to join the ILS, so we're going to be at about 2,500 feet above airfield elevation by that point. So let's go and look up the information on the airport. So elevation is only 14 feet, look. So if we come in 2,500 feet into the ILS, we should be absolutely fine. And if you look on the chart down here, it will probably say as much. So 2,300 feet at Sotil, they're saying, which is just at the outside look of the of the ILS. So we're aiming for 2,300 feet, and then you get down to 1,800 feet and follow the glide slope in. But we'll pick up the... whoa, what have I done? I've accidentally rotated the chart. Here we go. We've just got to 8,000 feet. So we need to start thinking now about descending further. So we've come down through 10,000, so the landing lights should go on now. We're almost at 6,000, which is the transition altitude to switch back to the local barometric pressure, which we can look up. So if we go and look in weather for Barcelona, we can see where is it? 1015 hectopascals, 29.97 inches. And we are operating, should we put it into hectopascals just for a change? But we don't need to do it till we get to 6,000 feet, to be honest, so we'll wait. So let's go down to 5,000, just on our way in. Well, I'm just going to double check the chart again. We had no other restrictions, did we, other than 8,000 at CLE, so we'll hang on at 8,000 for the moment. We could start slowing down a bit further. So we'll let the airplane coast back to 220 knots. You have to be careful with the 747, it's big and heavy and it doesn't like going too slow without flaps. Okay, so we can begin our descent down. We'll go straight down to 2,500 feet then, but we'll do it at a rate that we want to. So if you remember Sotil, we need to be at 2,300 feet, wasn't it? Sorry. So we're going to go down using vertical speed to do it slowly. So you'll see the green banana appear. There it comes. So is it about 1,300 maybe? 1,200 feet? We're looking good, aren't we? So this is an electric or electronic aeroplane, so we shouldn't have to program the ILS, but I'm just going to go and double check it. So frequency for this is 111.5, 244 degrees on the course. If we go and look in the Navrad section, 111.5, 244 is already programmed. Perfect. So we're just descending down towards Sotil. Yeah, Barcelona's got a fantastically long runway. We shouldn't have, well, it's got two runways. We're on the left-hand runway. So if I just show you here, we're on the shorter runway, but it doesn't really make any difference. It's 8,500 feet long. The runway 24 right is 11,400 feet long. It's enormously long. You should be able to get the 747 down on 5,000 or 6,000 feet of runway without too much trouble. Let's zoom in again. So you should see the markers. Yeah, you can see the marker there, look, has turned up for the localizer. The glide slope will appear sometime soon as well. Obviously that will go solid once we are on the localizer. To be honest, I might fly it in manually just for a bit of fun. I much prefer landing manually than using autopilot. Although saying that, I don't think this has got... Yeah, it hasn't got approach mode on the EFIS display yet. So all you have to go by... There you go, there's the glide slope has just appeared. So they haven't finished programming it yet. Okay, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so we're still on target. Going to start feeding flaps in and reducing speed further. You can see the wrong ways. So flaps are going to 10 degrees. We're going to drop the speed to 180. It's interesting to see how accurately it does this. Look, it's overshot the turn. It's now going to have to turn left gently. So I'm going to come off the autopilot now anyway, and the auto throttle, and take over and fly it in myself. I'm just waiting for the gear to travel. For some reason, the first time I threw it on the controller, it didn't register, which is a bit strange. So we're off slightly to the left. Just looking at the needles, we're a little bit high. So just watching the glide slope here, coming back down a bit. Doesn't want to descend, does it? Here it comes. So what have we got in the way of wind? 7 knots headwind, slightly pushing us to the left. Not much to worry about though. Still a little bit high, but nothing to speak about. It's fine. A little bit slow maybe. Just giving it a little bit more throttle. It's probably worth me showing you the yoke, isn't it? Because to see how small an inputs I'm actually putting in. We're off to the right slightly, so we're just correcting for that. We're still high, so I'm going to pull the throttle back a little bit. Not too much though, because we are slow. The spoilers are up. Flaps are maximum. We're pretty much on the glide slope now, but drifting high again. This likes to drift high, doesn't it? Now we're going low. You can see the PAPI lights now. Bit of a buckaroo ride on the way in. Apologies for that. Just made the passengers all lose their stomach. Whoa, it's hitting the... Look how much airspeed we lost in those last few seconds. Isn't that interesting? That was interesting. Suddenly lost about 15 knots of airspeed. So I think the flight model in this 747 still leaves quite a lot to be desired, certainly on approach. It's nothing like as good as like the PMDGs or the Phoenix. It tends to wallow when you get slow, and it like suddenly climbs. It becomes very pitchy, you know, in the last few moments. Apologies for cutting across the taxiways. I just want to go and park. It's quite odd when you get near the ground at kind of minimum speed, full flaps. It doesn't seem right. Don't think we really fit here, do we? But just roll in a little bit further. Yeah, a little bit closer to the gate. Okay, parking brake is on. Do we get external power here? Oh, it's available. Fantastic. That means we can go and shut the engine straight down without firing up the APU. We should have turned off the landing lights on the taxi. We should have turned off the strobe as well. So we're a little bit late with doing a few of these things. Fuel pumps can come off. Packs can go off. We never actually set the... can you set the passenger lights in this thing? Yeah, we should. That should have been on auto really during the flight. I need to put that on the checklist, to be honest. But otherwise, we're pretty much good to go. And I didn't use auto brakes on landing. I know a lot of people, you know, drag me over the coals for that quite often. What am I looking at? Making sure I've done things. Turn the hydraulics off. Don't need to do that. So further overhead we can go and turn off the emergency lights, I guess. Turn the standby power off. And then turn the battery off, and we're dark. Except we're not, because this does this in several aeroplanes actually, where they've got this graphical trick to draw the insides of an aeroplane. It's actually like a box that's rendered behind each window. It's very difficult to see it. But yeah, there's like a graphical trick they use to make it look like there's an interior modelled when there isn't. Or to do it, you know, without affecting frame rate too much. Anyway, that was good fun. But yeah, the landing behaviour of the 747 seems very odd. When you get into that kind of last 20 knots, you need to be really, really careful, or just come in faster on purpose. It seems to be it just catches between falling or accelerating or not accelerating. There's kind of no sweet spot, or there's no margin there at all. It's like on a knife edge. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you again soon. So thank you for watching, if you're watching. I might stream again later with the GA plane somewhere, I'm not sure. I'll have a think about it. Okay, take care.